Claude AI just helped one founder turn a side project into an $80 million exit in 6 months. His name is 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐸. He started Base 44 in February of last year. An AI app builder he built almost entirely by himself, with Claude doing most of the coding. He wasn't a first-time founder. His previous company raised over $100 million. And by the time of the acquisition, he had a small team of 8, all hired in the final month. But for almost the entire build, it was him and Claude. Even an experienced founder used to need years and capital to get this far. 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐸 did it in 6 months, with AI doing most of the building. And if you've been opening Claude, asking it questions, and walking away unimpressed, you're not using it the right way. The founders who figured out the right way are sitting inside Y Combinator's current batch, hitting numbers most startups never reach. In Y Combinator's W26 batch, a company called Pocket shipped 30,000 units of an AI device and hit $27 million annualized run rate in 5 months with 8 employees. Pocket isn't a Claude story directly. It's a speed story. It shows what the new early-stage bar looks like. In the YC batch before that, managing partner Jared Friedman said on record that for a quarter of the companies, 95% of their code was being written by AI. If you open Claude and just chat with it, you'll get useful answers. But when you're the only person on the company, that's a fraction of what you actually need to do. Solo founders building companies use Claude as 3 tools in a specific order. It starts with Claude projects. A project is a workspace where Claude holds context about your business. You drop in customer notes, competitor pages, support transcripts, the rough founder thinking you haven't organized yet. Claude reads all of it and remembers it across every conversation. You stop explaining your business from scratch every time you open a new chat. That's where the strategic work starts. You ask Claude to cluster the pain points you've heard from customers, find the one problem that keeps coming up, and turn it into a 1-sentence offer. Once you have that, you move into the artifacts. Artifacts are the live prototype layer inside Claude. You describe what the product should look like, and it renders right there in the chat. You click around, break it, ask for changes, and watch it redraw. This is the part that used to take a designer a week. Now you go from a rough idea to something clickable in less than 1 day. Only after that do you move into Claude Code. You point it at your project files, describe what you want, and Claude reads your code, plans the change, writes it, and tests the result. For non-technical founders, this is where the workflow gets interesting. You don't write the code. You describe what should happen. If it's wrong, you describe how to fix it. Claude gets it wrong sometimes, but this is the part of building a software company that used to be impossible without hiring an engineer. From there, you connect Stripe for payments, Vercel or Railway for hosting, Supabase for a database, and Resend for email. Most of the layers free to close or free until you have paying customers. Once revenue is coming in, you'll also need a real business bank account, but that's a problem for after the product works. Now, that's the workflow. But knowing the workflow is only half the job. You also have to know which parts Claude can do for you and which parts will quietly fall on you no matter what. The part of a startup Claude has clearly taken over is the work a junior engineer used to do. Writing code, refactoring, catching obvious bugs, generating tests. Gary Tan runs Y Combinator. He's been writing software for 20 years, and he says he's shipping more products now than at any point in his career. He's open sourced his personal Claude Code setup so other founders can copy it. It's not just him either. Boris Cherny, who leads Claude Code at Anthropic, has said publicly that he now uses Claude to write the code while he focuses on directing and reviewing the output. But the strategic work is still yours. Pricing, market selection, whether to pivot, who to hire first, what claims you can safely make about your product, none of that gets delegated. Claude will help you think through any of it, but it won't decide. The weakness for founders is that Claude is too agreeable. If you describe a bad pricing strategy, Claude will help you execute that strategy cleanly. It won't tell you that the strategy is bad. That judgment is the part you don't get to skip. The tool itself also breaks. Anthropic recently acknowledged weeks of user complaints about Claude code quality. They named 3 specific problems: a default reasoning setting that got changed, a caching bug, and a system update that made the tool too terse. They fixed all of it and reset usage limits for paying subscribers. A YC company called Humwork described the deeper pattern. The agent gets about 80% of the way to a working feature. Then it loops on the same bug, makes the same bad architectural guess 5 times, hallucinates a detail, or quietly produces something that looks right but is subtly wrong. Another YC company, Compile, said it more concretely. They built a demo in days using Claude Code, then spent weeks cleaning up a codebase they no longer fully understood. It's a fast progress, then judgment work to clean it up. That's the real shape of working with these tools. The strategic decisions and the operational stuff that holds a company together stay with you. And the operational side is where most founders moving fast quietly fall behind. When you're the only person in the company, you become the bookkeeper too. Row fixes that. For example, banking, cards, and bill pay in one place. Link is in the description. Now, the bigger leverage with Claude is somewhere most founders aren't even looking. The obvious uses of Claude are writing code and writing content. The less obvious ones are customer research and financial modeling. And those things are things that used to kill startups before code was even a question. Most founders do customer interviews, walk away with a few good quotes, and remember the last conversation best. By the 10th call, they've forgotten what the second person said. They make product decisions based on whoever called them last. But the fix is easy. You drop your interview transcripts into a Claude project. You ask Claude to cluster them by role, severity, and the feature the customer asked for. You ask for charts that show where the pain points concentrate. You ask for direct quotes from the interviews you did 4 months ago. Claude can pull patterns out of 50 conversations more consistently than your memory can. The same system works for pricing and content. Drop competitor pricing pages, sales calls, and old marketing copy into a project. Ask Claude to find patterns, draft positioning, and stress test the offer before you publish. The point isn't that Claude makes the call, it's that you stop making it on a gut feeling. The same logic applies to financial modeling. When Anthropic's partner Fundamental Labs built a financial modeling agent on Claude Opus 4, it passed 5 of 7 levels of the Financial Modeling World Cup and scored 83% on complex Excel tasks. For a founder building runway scenarios, unit economics, or a simple cap table, that's the difference between hiring a finance consultant and running the model yourself. This is the part of running a company that used to cost real money. A research hire, a finance consultant, or a copywriter. Now a founder can get a serious first pass for $20 a month, as long as they're willing to check the work. But that $20 subscription isn't the real number. Running a one-person startup on Claude in 2026 is cheaper than most people think, but more expensive than the viral posts make it sound. Claude Pro is $20 a month, and it includes Claude Code. That's enough for most founders through the early experiments. Once you're building every day, you'll probably hit the usage limits fast. Move to Claude Max at $100 a month, or $200 if you're running long sessions around the clock. At the beginning, the rest of the stack can stay surprisingly small. Vercel for hosting, somewhere between free and $20. Supabase for a database, free to $25. Email service, free to $20. A domain is $1 a month. Stripe is just transaction fees. The realistic floor for someone getting started is $50 to $100 a month in tools. A serious one-person operation doing $20,000 or $50,000 a month in revenue is more likely to be $300 to $1,500 a month, before ads, contractors, taxes, and heavy API usage. A first engineer in San Francisco costs you somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 in cash, plus equity, payroll tax, benefits, recruiting time, and the months it takes to actually find one. Claude isn't free, but it's an order of magnitude less, and you can turn it on tonight. Runway depends on what you don't count. If you've got $25,000 saved and you're not paying yourself, the tool costs alone will give you years. If you're paying yourself $3,000 a month to cover rent and food, that same $25,000 lasts about 7 months. That math only works if you actually know where your money is going. Row's the easiest way to keep track. Link is in the description. Claude Code passed $2.5 billion in annualized revenue by February of this year, more than doubling from the start of the year. Solo-founded startups went from 23% of all new companies in 2019 to 36% of new companies as of the most recent data from Carta. The problem is that priced round funding hasn't followed. Solo founders pulled in about 15% of it last year. Most VC money still flows to teams, so the way founders start companies has already changed. The way investors react to it is still catching up. The only question is whether you're one of the founders building this way now, or one who figures it out later. If you want to see how all of this scales, Sam Altman has a bet running with his CEO friends about when the first $1 billion company shows up. The case for why it's already happening is in the next video.